Marxism is promoting no-fap and they're promoting feminism. Okay, so Marxists are anti-male. This is Midwestern Marx, a pretty popular Marxist YouTube channel that's growing quite fast. They gained my attention via the coverage of the Ukraine war. So a lot of groups are growing off the back of anti-war sentiment. Like a lot of right-wingers are growing off it, and a lot of left-wingers are growing off it. Okay, and just because you happen to agree with someone on a certain issue doesn't make them your ally or your friend. Right-wingers are anti-male, and they're pretty toxic, right? Like, just because Tucker Carlson's against the Ukraine war doesn't make him your friend. He's a far right-wing reactionary, and he's a bit of a lunatic, to be honest. And so are these Marxists. They're lunatics as well. Okay, so I'm going to watch a bit of this, interject, then I'm going to watch a bit of a reply video that Trevor did to these people as well. And then I'm going to show some data, right? Okay.
Good afternoon, anti-imperialist greetings.
So I'm going to do a shit on men count, okay?
We got a special guest today for our third episode of Capitalism's Attack on the Soul.
So this is very similar to the Tradcon narrative about consumerism, anti-consumerism. Oh yes, shallow consumerism, it's attack on the soul. It's very similar actually. It's quite interesting how much similarities they do have with the left and right.
Today we want to dig deep into the pornography industry and pornography addiction.
There's no such thing as pornography addiction, period. It's pseudoscience, okay?
How does that impact our families, our communities?
Our families, first of all, I'm going to interject a lot. It's not our families. Men do not have families, okay? Women have families. You may get to orbit around the families you provide for them, but once the woman's sick of you, you can get discarded and booted. They're not your families. Families don't support men, right? Families are all about women, period. That's the Tradcon delusion you've got to get out of your head, which most men refuse to do so. Okay.
Our class. We're going to tackle this, as always, from an anti-imperialist perspective.
Pornography and anti-imperialism have nothing to do with each other, so this is a non sequitur. Just linking issues to sound pretentious and clever, right? These Marxists, they're going to commit a lot of non sequiturs.
And from an internationalist perspective, so
it's complete nonsense. Internationalist perspective, garbage.
Right on cue, Carlos is going to hit that the international. Then we'll jump in and introduce our comrade Isabel and go from there.
So they're bringing in a man-hating feminist. I'll bet your heartbeat proudly. By the way, Castro, he was very homophobic. Lots of gay men had to leave Cuba because the idea of male pleasure, men pleasuring themselves, men having pleasure of other men, or men fapping and enjoying their sexuality outside of female control, angers tradcons. And Fidel Castro was a tradcon. That scumbag Mao on there. So it's all one big non-sequitur, basically. Like, and no-fap is like middle of the road, mainstream Republican idealism, right? It's heteroconformality at play. What's this got to do with no-fap? Martin Luther King, no-fapper. Okay.
Injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power.
Yeah, so basically this is all LARPing because capitalism exists, rich billionaires and CEOs exist. They exist because of female sexual mate selection, right? Okay, and I've done a hangout with a Shield for Men proving this. Okay, women demand men work. Men work to get status, to get money to give to women, and women do not give back or do not contribute. That's the parasitical gender role right there. So you can change the economic system all you want, right? If you had a proper socialist system, men would just get deselected, left, right, and centre. Okay, and women don't want equality. Right. The growth of feminism, the growth of females not working, is actually linked to imperialism. Right, the more rampant imperialism was, countries stealing resources from other countries. Right, it was all about stealing those resources and giving it to women so they didn't have to work. The Industrial Revolution was the start of women not working. Okay, women are not the working class; they're the gender bourgeoisie. You can't be a feminist, you can't be an anti-imperialist, you can't be an anti-capitalist. If you're a feminist and you're a female, you are a capitalist. Capitalism is female nature on steroids.
So
All right, welcome back, everybody.
So
I
these are I was trying to like boycott the word incel, right? It's hopeless. It's going to get used, so I'm going to use it. Dumb, do. Feedle dum, deedle do. These three clowns, they're male, feminist, orbiter incels, thirsty men, and they're orbiting around this beautiful woman. Beautiful. Okay? And that's why she's invited in. That's why feminists are allowed in. Okay? That's where a large chunk of their social power comes from. Okay?
I'm so excited about tonight. Everything Danny's told me about our guest makes me really excited to just get right into this.
Yes, smearing men is exciting to these clowns.
So why don't we do that? Isabel, can you introduce yourself for our audience and everybody watching? Tell them who you are and what you do.
you want me to do the intro first, Isabel, then you can jump in with anything I missed?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
So Elizabeth Cool Miller goes by they, them, Sabel as well.
They, them. Okay. Oh, okay. Whatever.
Someone who is out here in the struggle, coast to coast.
Women are not in the struggle. Period. They're not in the struggle. They're your social superiors. They're your masters. They're about as much in the struggle as Elon Musk is. Okay.
International. I met Isabel actually through the boxing world. They do a lot in the world of self-defense.
Okay. Self-defense for females. The class is a complete nonsense. I don't want to digress too much into bullshit self-defense stuff, but all these do is give women false confidence in dealing with men, right? Women can't punch. Like 99.9% of women can't punch unless there's some sort of muscle freak woman. They can't punch, period. So no amount of training is going to help them punch, okay? So it just gives them a false sense of confidence, and it's about teaching a threat narrative to women. The real purpose of female self-defense classes is to go, men are creepy, men are dangerous, and it's to validate those feelings. So they're a complete waste of time.
Self-defense for all of our people under attack.
So it's self-defense for all the people under attack. So it's going to embolden women to attack men. Because what's going to happen is women are not going to use the self-defense against dangerous men because it won't work. But it will embolden women to attack men who they know won't fight back.
Being bullied by white supremacy.
Being bullied by white supremacy. Women being bullied by white supremacy. Non sequitur.
Chismo. All these ills that affect us.
Right. Okay. You're feminists. You back feminists. Okay. Feminists have harmed black men more than any other group. Right. Child support slavery, false rape accusations. Okay. Single motherhood. Okay. Feminism has destroyed more black lives than any other group, as far as I know, in the 20th century, anyway. So, well, more black lives in America and in the UK. Let's put it that way, right?
They do a lot of work in the Bay Area, also teaching assertiveness, conscious
Let's okay. So let's look at these comments here. I'm going to do. So how can I quit and get my brain back? This is a common trope of NoFap, that fapping too much changes the wiring of your brain, makes you a dopamine addict, it gives you ADHD, all complete nonsense. How can I quit and get my brain back? So this person's got anxiety over porn, okay, which is induced artificially, because there's no need to have anxiety over this. Okay, so NoFap is mental illness, and it's spreading mental illness onto men and causing anxiety. It's misery, it's torture. So how can I quit and get my brain back? When you can't perform with the real thing, I mean, you can use such material in the bedroom, but if you're rubbing one out so much to a Rule 34 that you can't hack it live action, you've got a problem. This is nonsense, okay? If you can get the action, you're going to get the action. If you can't get the action, you can't get the action. Fapping has nothing to do with it one way or the other, okay? And when I was sexually active, okay, which was a long time ago, when I was sexually active, I was still masturbating, okay? I was still masturbating. So there. So it seems to be that these sexually inexperienced men, a lot of sexually inexperienced men, are under the delusion that if you masturbate, you can't perform in the bedroom. But if you find the woman attractive, you can still perform in the bedroom. I could like masturbate and still perform in the bedroom. It's better if you don't masturbate because you got more saved up. But I can masturbate and still perform in the bedroom if I found the woman attractive. Okay, it's just that simple. You either find someone attractive or you don't. Okay, but I don't want to digress into bedroom death and relationships too much here.
Tattooing. So a lot of focus on healing from generational trauma.
Most generational trauma is caused by women and abusive mothers. Next.
And all these different issues. I have some notes here too.
Non-sequitur as well. This has nothing to do with NoFap. Just to point that out.
That
so they'll just randomly link issues to NoFap in a non-sequitur manner. Very common tactic. Feminists use.
Sibel is a child of the earth in a tree.
Anyone who labels himself like that, red flag, narcissism, spiritual narcissism. Lots of feminists are like that. Red flag.
In many mediums, focusing on free and intuitive expressions. I just want to get that in there.
Oh, by the way, I've noticed some people have had their comments removed. By the way, some of the comments are still up, but some of the comments are down. So maybe YouTube's removing them, but maybe they're removing some comments. Who knows?
Sneak that in there.
So free expression. Very skeptical about that.
And then we'll throw it to you, Isabel. Anything that we forgot?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always really refreshing to know that people, that masculine folks, that men are not just willing, but are like, yo, we got to get into this and really.
Yo, we got to get into man hate. So masculine men, I don't believe in the concept of masculinity. That's anyone who is stuck to the concept of masculinity or femininity, right? They're still trapped. Okay, they're tradcons on some level. I don't believe. I reject the concept of masculinity. I'm a human being, right? Like these people may want to be masculine. They may want to be niggers and slaves, but I don't want to be a nigger or slave. I want to be free and have respect and self-dignity. Okay.
And really start to figure this out and move differently. So it's an honor to be here.
There's nothing to figure out. She just spews lies and invalidation and attack on male self-esteem.
And yeah, I teach, I learn, I do art, I love. I do a lot in.
Do you love what? Do you bang your students or something? Okay, you're not capable of love. To be honest, you're a typical narcissistic feminist female. You can't love. You're incapable of love. You can only love thyself, right? You can't love men. You're incapable of it.
Healing work with sexual violence, whether that's with protection, so self-defense.
Okay, so healing work with sexual violence, first red flag, and this is nothing. This is nothing to do with anything. Sexual violence against women is very rare. Only a small percentage of psychopaths commit sexual violence against women. Her narrative, her feminist narrative, is that sexual violence is common and part of the masculine culture, right? Which is nonsense. Completely not a fucking nonsense. Men who commit sexual violence against women are seen as scum of the earth by most men, and it's not mainstream whatsoever. Okay, so she brings in this narrative that it's common to degrade, dehumanize, disparage, and humiliate men, right? And normalize threat narratives against men. It's all about the threat narrative. Okay.
Assertiveness.
And by the way, self-defense, you either escape from the rape or you don't. That's it.
And then also making sure that we're working with the whole picture, right? Not just the survivors or the survivors of violence, but also those perpetrating harm. What's going on?
Okay, so this is another bullshit meter going off. So let's talk about sex offenders, the small minority of men who are sex offenders. Okay, so most sex offenders are going to be psychopaths, right? They're going to be psychopaths. Okay, going to a spiritual new age group is not going to help them at all. Okay, it's not going to stop them being sex offenders. Okay, and this is a feminist group. It's going to have women there. So I'm meant to believe that this group's going to have men who are sex offenders in there, and they're getting spiritual healing. Okay. They even say that therapy doesn't help psychopaths because it just helps them to learn to be more manipulative. So I'm meant to believe that you believe that you're inviting sex offenders for spiritual healing and learning how to respect women. No, it's complete horseshit, and you know this is not true because you wouldn't be going to these courses. Women wouldn't be turning up here if this was the case. So what these women are doing is that they're disparaging all men as sex offenders and guilting them, saying, "Oh, you've got collective responsibility. You're part of collective culture. It's part of your mindset. You're somehow responsible, right?" And it's just there to degrade them and torment them emotionally. That's all it's there for. So, like I said, they're inviting sex offenders to spiritual therapy groups, feminist therapy groups. Okay, the females wouldn't turn up, so they know they're lying. She knows she's lying. By the way, she's lying and she knows it. These dummies probably don't know. They're thirsty. They want this cute Latina, basically. They want to orbit around her and worship her.
Especially
Incel. They're acting like stereotypical incels, by the way. These people will call me an incel for having self-respect and dignity, but I'm not orbiting around women who hate me and thirsting over them, am I? Okay.
when it comes to right, everybody is family, and the way especially a lot of our men of color are treated when they might fall into perpetrating some type of violence that was most likely done to them at some point.
So basically, she's throwing black men under the bus. Minority men. Oh, minority men are dangerous and we've got to train them out of it. So that's shitting on men, number one.
Are shown to them, and we have this.
And by the way, she's not saying that women abuse young black men and they become perpetrators. She's saying that it's normalized and they pick it up from other men, by the way, because most child abuse is done by women, and most serial killers and serial rapists have been abused by women. Okay, that's a commonality. But she's not saying that because that puts some responsibility onto women. She's saying that men have got to step up and be better so boys can learn not to be toxically masculine. That's what she's saying.
Model of disposability to throw people away, and I just
But
wanted
it's not throwing people away, it's throwing men away. That's the model of disposability. And that's you, by the way. That's female nature. Women break up relationships more. Women parasite off men more. So this is a good time as any to look at the genders hour work gap. Okay. Single men, they work less hours than married men. Married women and single women. Single women work more hours than married women. So what men are doing, they're working more hours, putting on more burdens, so women can work less and have more work-life flexibility. Okay, so that's the gender bourgeoisie parasiting off the male working class proletariat, right? That's what's going on there. Okay, male disposability. And you can't talk about this with Marxists because they'll call you an incel and ban you. I've been banned from countless Marxist groups. So they don't want to analyse class structure and they don't want to analyse economics because they don't want to talk about the true gender dynamics, right? So they're just spinning in circles. They're feminists or they're pretending to be above feminism when they're still feminists. But let's get on with this.
to creatively explore not doing that and seeing if we could.
So you creatively explore not to abuse women. Okay. This is how fucking ridiculous this is.
Figure out how to heal and how to actually be accountable, and so
How to heal. Sorry, fuck YouTube.
mess with our generations.
All right, so I've got to go back. Sorry about that.
Assertiveness, and then also making sure that we're working with the whole picture, right? Not just the survivors or the survivors of violence, but also those perpetrating harm. What's going on, especially when it comes to right, everybody is family, and the way especially a lot of our men of color are treated when they might fall into perpetrating some type of violence that was most likely done to them at some point, or shown to them. And we have this model of disposability to throw people away, and I just wanted to creatively explore not doing that and seeing if we could figure out how to heal and how to actually be accountable. And so that led me to
how to heal, how to be accountable. So men who don't rape and abuse, they're going to be blamed for rapes and abuse of women that A, don't happen, or B, are done by other psychopath men who are a small minority. Most of these are false accusations, by the way. But when she talks about accountability, it means blame the man. Okay.
to starting a men's accountability and healing circle over COVID.
Men's accountability and healing circle. Blame the man. So that's shitting on men number 2.
I actually started it because this young person, Oluwatoyin, was Black Lives Matter activist, 19-year-old, and she was actually sexually assaulted and killed.
Okay, non sequitur, nothing to do with anything. That if that happened, that's a serial killer, a serial rapist, and a serial killer. Nothing to do with anything. So basically, why don't we have a women's accountability course for you and blame you for baby murders? Most baby murders are done by women. So are you to blame collectively for female baby murders? Right? It's ridiculous. Women wouldn't put up with it for a second, would they? So basically, some sicko chops a woman up and rapes her. So we got to disparage men and make them attend courses to attack their self-esteem. So this proves to me you're not actually worried about sexual violence because one, it's very, very rare, and two, you don't care if it happens to other women really. Okay, so you're free. You're pretending to be outraged, so you can guilt men into turning up to courses and you can disparage them and abuse them with it. That's the only reason you're interested in it. Okay.
And she was the
So let's say somehow that a bunch of rapists were turning up at this course, right? Okay, for the sake of argument. What they go, oh, so do you think a feminist spiritual healing course is going to stop them becoming rapists? Okay, that's not how it works. That's not how psychopaths work. Like for you, your feminism, your psychopathic behavior can't be trained out of you, right? You're always going to be a feminist psychopath, always. Period. You're a psychopath, right? No, we couldn't create a anti-feminist healing course for women like you. It wouldn't work. What you'd do, you'd enter it, and if you felt there was social clout to be gained from it, you'd become a social chameleon and pretend to agree with the anti-feminist. But you'd still be a feminist. That's what would happen. Okay.
real reason why it shifted, and seeing a lot of my friends and a lot of my femme and women and queer friends be like, yo, this is just, we're fighting for y'all, and then even our own men are turning around and doing this to us.
So shitting on men number 3. So basically, you're not doing it all. You're a woman. You're a gender class parasite who parasites off the back of men. You hijack social movements and take them over and control them. You're a parasite. You're a gender parasite. You're a class parasite. You're the gender bourgeoisie. So you're trying to big yourself up like a narcissist, claiming you're doing all this. Then you go, oh yeah, we're doing all this, and your men are attacking us, turning your back, which is complete fucking nonsense. You're attacking the men. You're projecting. You're attacking the men. You're parasiting off them. You're degrading them. You're dehumanizing them. You're using threat narratives against them. Okay, right? You're abusing them. You're putting them on child support, false rape reports, false domestic violence reports. You're the one doing it. You're the one killing and murdering men. Okay, not us. All right, men lift women up. Okay, and you've got the nerve to claim you're doing this all for men. And by the way, genderqueer folks and gays, you're linking them into your intersectionalism in a non sequitur manner. Nothing to do with anything. This is about the power struggle between men and women, the group dynamics, the gender dynamics between them and us. Them, you versus us. And you started this war, not us, right? Not men, women did.
Right, so I'm really trying to imagine a space of love that could carry us through unlearning all.
So if a man's a rapist and a murderer or an abuser, you call the police and you prove it in a court of law and then you lock them up. Okay, there's no spiritual healing courses. Okay, the thing is, all right. So I do not want to be around psychopaths, male or female. If I was part of a group and I knew someone was violent and abusive and a psychopath raping someone, I would be pissed off if you was inviting them into the group. So you're not inviting them into the group, are you? You're just bullshitting. Okay, this is all about collective blame on men again.
All of this violence and relearning what it is to love and what it is to be with each other. So
You're not going to learn what it is to be with each other because you deselect lower status men. And most of these Marxist groups are going to be full of lower status men. Okay?
yeah, pornography obviously is a huge part of that
Non sequitur.
whole unfolding from super young to all ages, really. So it's
Non sequitur. So she talking about sexual violence and abuse, right, and rape, and then she links it to porn. Non sequitur.
definitely been illuminating. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot through my own journey and through what others have shared with me. So,
And these male feminist mangina incels, completely silent, respectful, keeping their mouths shut, okay, letting her spew her venom, no challenges.
yeah, let's get into it.
Cool. Isabel, can you walk us through how that I think mostly young men. I remember joining once about 2, 3 years ago at the height of the pandemic. How did you bring those, I think mostly young men together? What was the dialogue?
You got to get them while they're young to brainwash them. When they're self-loathing, low status, desperate for female validation. That's when they're the most vulnerable to manipulation.
Like, were these young men able to reflect on
By the way, she's scum. She's
pornography,
trash.
the violence within pornography?
The violence within pornography. Okay. Non sequitur. The violence. I've seen female. This is very creepy. There's actually female police officers who say the same thing. Like there's hidden paedophilia, there's hidden rape, there's hidden murder, there's hidden snuff within mainstream porn sites. Right? And I've seen a female police chief claim this. Right? It's a complete nonsense. It's just a lie. It's just a lie. The hidden snuff industry, the hidden sex trafficking, the hidden rape, the hidden paedophilia within the porn industry. It's there somewhere, hidden deep, deep, deep. We can't find it, but we know it's somewhere because we want to smear men and attack their hobbies and attack their pastimes and attack their pleasures. And basically, this has already affected men. Okay, in the past, you was able to find porn easily, right? Now it's a lot harder to find porn in the UK. And like, if you want to do it out in the open, you've got to give you a credit card and government ID to find porn, right? Okay, right? You got to do that. You got to give that stuff, and what it means is you give the government knows what you're doing, what you're looking at, and also there's a potential risk of a data leak. Okay, so it's made men's privacy even more insecure. And this was due to feminists pressuring for this change to attack porn. So why is it porn sites in the UK you got to register to go onto adult porn sites, but you don't have to register to read romance novels full of rape fantasy? That's interesting, right? Double standard there. Women get to read their rape romance fan fiction without it being under an adult filter online.
What was that whole? Did it feel almost like new ground? Were they able to get into their insecurities, vulnerabilities? Walk us through.
So insecurities, vulnerabilities. So men show so basically these are the same sort of fucking losers that when men bring up valid complaints, they're called incels or it's called fragile masculinity, right? Okay, but then they turn around wanting men to open up. It's just pure gaslighting.
Through a little bit that experience.
Yeah, it started just me putting out the call and putting out on Instagram flyers, essentially breaking down like, this is what I'm trying to do. Whoever is on this wave, let's do it. And people started tapping in. People shared it, sent it to people, sent it to their boyfriends. It was
so that's equivalent of a white friend sharing a KKK flyer with a black friend. Okay, so the girlfriends are willing to spread feminist poison onto their boyfriends.
a really beautiful journey of how everybody saw it and saved it and then came.
By the way, you are scum. 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 There.
And we were super chill. And that's another thing of structurally, right, in not wanting to do things the same way capitalism, the same way that
Non sequitur. This has nothing to do with capitalism. You are a capitalist, soft, pampered, smooth skin, living in a nice little place, probably living off your boyfriend. You're a parasite. You're part of the female bourgeoisie.
colonization has taught us to do things that
Colonization, non sequitur, nothing to do with pornography. Again,
I can't make you learn with force.
actually, that's a lie. That's what feminists do all the time. So basically, you got in a lot of places you got to take on gender studies as part of your degree, or you won't pass, right? And they teach kids this stuff in schools as well. So they are using force. They're using state violence to enforce this on people.
With
Men, by the way, enforce it on men.
being harsh, with being like, you have to be here at this time, otherwise you're kicked out. Like, none of that is going to work when we're trying to heal and when we're trying to.
There's no healing, by the way. Basically, none of these women have been raped or sexually assaulted. They're lying about it because they're narcissistic liars. Okay, a real rape victim. So let's break this up. I've actually interacted with real female abuse victims. Okay, and they give off a very similar vibe to male abuse victims. Okay, you can just tell. You can just tell, right? You can just sense it if you know what to look for. And I've only never known one, to be honest. Okay, that's how rare it is. But a female abuse victim, a legitimate abuse victim, is not going to want to turn up at a grouping a feminist healing group with men who are apparently abusers. Okay, they're not going to want to turn up because they're not stupid, right? If they actually, you'd have if you believe there's real abusers there, you're a lunatic. If you're an abuse victim, you're going to turn up. You're a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? I wouldn't turn up. I wouldn't turn up at a group like this. I'm not particularly scared by male abusers, right? But I wouldn't turn up. Jesus Christ. So I'm pointing this out to point out that their narrative, this is a healing group for abusive men who victimize women. It's horseshit. It's horseshit. They don't even believe it themselves. That's the point I'm trying to emphasize.
Learned. So having a really different approach that was more I think a little more casual and also a little more
Casual
intimate.
sexism.
It wasn't so structured. I'm not testing you. I can literally tell you nothing that's gonna give you that checkbox of I'm accountable now, or oh, I heard.
Because it's meant to be. That's not the point of accountability. It's not about accountability. It's about basically it's you're male. You're part of an abusive culture. I'm morally superior to you. I can belittle you and abuse you and degrade you and devalue you and use threat narratives against you. If there was actually such thing as a checkbox where you were deemed accountable, quote unquote accountable, and no longer a threat to women, they wouldn't like that. Okay, that's not the point of it. And bitch, men don't owe you accountability. Men are actually more accountable than women. You're the one who lacks accountability, bitch. Okay.
Somebody, and now I went to this meeting and check. Isabel said I'm good, so
Actually, I like female dogs, so I shouldn't use the term bitch. Actually, female dogs are far better than human females.
I'm good. That I was very clear, like that cannot even happen. So it's just about how we show up, and people showed up really amazing. That's why I'm smiling
The thirsty males turned up. The male orbiter incels turned up. Okay.
so much is because it was one of the most loving spaces that I've ever been in my life, and I've been in a lot of love.
So basically, you've got to train men out of their raping habits, right? Their abuse habits, their violence habits. Train them out of their violence, but it's all loving. Okay, this is gibberish.
So to see what happens when a group of men.
This woman's never been abused in her life, by the way. Never, not even once. She's never been touched or disrespected by a man once. Just pointing that out now. She's probably got a bunch of male orbiters who, any man disrespects her, they'll kick his head in.
Men or genderful folks that are working through those issues with toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity, that's shitting on man number 4. Toxic masculinity is the N word. Calling men toxically masculine is like calling the black community niggers. It's the same thing. Oh, toxic niggerhood. It's the same concept. Toxic masculinity, toxic niggerhood. One is a racist concept and one's a sexist concept against men.
What happens when we can come together and just...
Oh no, I've got nothing against black people. I just don't like the toxic niggers. You know, I don't mind black people. They're not niggers, but they're niggers and they're toxic. I don't like them. It's equivalent of that. Okay.
Just be honest and be loving towards each other. So I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to laugh at you. I'm just going to listen.
Feminism is the gender KKK.
And the space that creates, now everybody can talk and everybody can be honest. And sometimes
no. If I turned up, I'll be booted out pretty quickly.
People like, I can't. They don't talk for 4 or 5 meetings. They just listen, letting these other people's process activate things in them. And
by the way, this is a very common female manipulation tactic, and it's very easy to fall for it as a man because we've got an innate desire to be intimate with women and be close with women. Okay, we want female validation. They frame this in terms of closeness and relationships, right? Community, caring, friendship, love, respect, sharing. Okay, but it's a bait and switch. It's a gate-kept community. It's on their terms. They dictate to you. They abuse you. They degrade you. And if you open up to something they don't like, they're going to invalidate you. But whatever they say is valid, even if it's the most vile, abusive thing imaginable. Calling men toxically masculine, trying to imply that rape and abuse of women in the culture is normalized by men. Complete, disgusting bullshit.
So we have the ages were mostly like 18 to 30, I would say, was the bulk of the folks who came
before men get the status, basically.
Through, but we had 16-year-old, we had like 50-year-old who's a new dad. So it was definitely.
So you got to teach yourself loathing to 50-year-old men. Okay.
A range, a lot of different.
So a 50-year-old dad, it needs to be trained out of these rape and abuse habits. Okay.
perspectives are
Utterly absurd.
a lot of different
Like men who are capable of rape are like 1% of the population. Okay.
walks of life. And yeah, they came with that honesty. I think when people are met with the challenge and they know that they're not going to be punished for answering honestly,
What's answering honestly? Yeah. Did you do you rape women? Yes. Is that what happened? No, of course not. Complete horseshit.
a lot can happen. And so that's where, yeah, we start to see with, unfortunately, a lot of consistency, porn exposure being around the age of 5 years old, 5 to 8 years old, how that affects.
Porn exposure from 5 years old. A child is only be exposed to porn from 5 years old if the parents are batshit insane or really bad parents. I wasn't exposed to porn from 5 years old. Okay, I don't think hardly anyone ever is. Right. So this is just a non sequitur. So talking about violence against women, accountability, and then men are being exposed to porn from 5 years old. What? No, non sequitur again.
The development of the psyche.
And basically, what we don't know what porn does when you look at it from a young age. I don't think it harms. If you look at it from the age of 10, like I didn't harm me, or 12, or whatever. I think it was 10. I first saw a porno magazine. It wasn't really hardcore, just naked women. Didn't do me any harm, right? It's not like my head exploded. Oh, okay. So it's just basically an assumption. Oh, porn is harmful because of reasons. Now I'm going to talk about the real motive here, okay? Because when people just make assumptions and they lie, they jump to conclusions and they lie. Okay, do I emphasize they lie? When they lie with a conclusion, they just jump to conclusions and they're just lying. There's a motive behind it, and the motive is they hate men. They want to belittle men. They hate male freedom. They hate the thought of men pleasuring themselves. They hate the thought of men looking at porn and enjoying themselves out of female control. Even deselected men who will never get a woman, they don't want them pleasuring themselves, right? And it's just innate hatred. Okay, so it's just a post hoc rationalization to ban and outlaw porn. And basically, the sort of people who want to control your habits and reduce your habits and reduce your freedom are the people who want you dead. It's a very common conservative things. There's lots of right-wing conservatives who rant on against porn, groups looking at pornography, and they've turned around and started killing them. Right? It's a very common trope. These people, these feminists, actually want men dead and marginalized. I'm not being hysterical.
How that develops the sense of self and also the sense of other people.
Sense of other people. So looking at porn damages your empathy, which is a lie. No, you don't see people as objects because you look at porn. You just look at porn, you get horny off it. That's it.
So now I'm just a kid. I'm walking around in this world, but now I'm being told to perceive other people in this way, to want these things. These desires are pumped into us, and they're not ours. And
So these desires are pumped into us and not ours. Bullshit. You can't get a straight man into gay porn by pumping gay porn into him. You can't make a gay man straight by showing him straight porn. It's an innate desire, and the pornographers capitalize off that and sell what appeals. Bullshit. This is conspiracy theory. Oh, they're brainwashing and corrupting us with porn. Very right wing, actually. Far right type narrative.
and so things can get very confusing. So, yeah, I think loads has been shared. I want to.
Loads have been shared. Okay, sorry.
You guys can maybe ask for some of the specifics because they've been incredibly generous. All of the folks who have joined Circle have been incredibly generous
They've been male feminist punching bags for emotional abuse, in other words.
to themselves with their own healing, which has
The only healing they need to do is to heal from women like you and break away from women like you. You're manipulative. You're a manipulative abuser of men. And I'm actually quite disturbed that 16-year-olds are turning up at your course. That's very disturbing. That comes across as a bit sex offendery to me, like teaching young men self-loathing and manipulating them. That's very cultish, right?
has given me a lot of perspective of the crisis that our young men are in and
Yeah, the crisis young men are in comes from women like you.
our boys are in, and I think it was so easy for a lot of people to.
And by the way, man haters use the boy crisis narrative, like feminists and tradcons. There is no boy crisis. There is no male crisis. There is no man crisis. There's a male discrimination crisis. The crisis doesn't come from them. It blames them. There's no such thing as a female crisis. When females suffer something or claim to suffer something, they don't go, oh, there's a women crisis. They say, oh, these women are suffering something. The whole boy crisis narrative is victim blaming. It's deflecting responsibility onto the victims.
To write it off. And, it's kind of what we're going through. It's that are embodied this way, women, queer folks, trans folks.
The intersectionalist non sequitur, using these people as a shield. It's a standard propaganda technique, right? So this is what we've got to do as a promo collective. We don't talk about queer folk. We don't talk about trans unless it's relevant to the issue. We don't mention these people. We don't get sucked into their culture war. We don't allow them to use them as shields, right? These queer folk are nothing to do with these feminists. Nothing.
What we're going through is so intense and so severe, and the femicide and the level of violence we're dealing with is...
femicide. Like, come on. Do I have to bring up the murder rates for men versus women? The murder rates for men are far higher than it is for women. There's no such thing as femicide. The femicide narrative is identical to the white genocide narrative. It's identical. It's the same concept. One's applied to race, white people. One's applied to women. So white people are playing the victim, claiming there's a white genocide against them. Feminists are playing the victim, claiming there's a femicide against them. And these male feminist incel orbiters, these scumbags, are allowing her to spew this venom. Okay? So I thought Marxism is based on statistics, data, and evidence. Okay? There is no evidence of femicide. Femicide doesn't happen. There is no femicide. If femicide was going on, right, this woman wouldn't be running workshop groups to meet up with men and to belittle them and emotionally abuse them and degrade them, right? There is no femicide. Anyway, let's watch this because I'm going to lead to something. I'm going to watch the first 10 minutes of this hangout with Trevor. It's not
right. Misogyny. I'm going to say this to your faces, Eddie Liger and Noah, Carlos.
Of the world, the Aiden Rosses of the world, who are just playing Minecraft or playing Fortnite and just ADD brain all over the place, sharing nothing valuable, nothing.
So that's status anxiety, by the way. ADHD brain. That means he can't focus on getting status. This guy's a tradcon.
Well, it's valuable to people who want to play Fortnite, I guess. To people who want to play video games.
Trevor, when he's talking about value, he's talking about status. It's that reductionistic. It's status. If you're playing video games, you're not getting status. So these anti-capitalist Marxists are obsessed with status, and they have to be obsessed with status because they're male. This guy, he's the one I like the most. He's quite charismatic. He's got cauliflower ears, right? Because he's an amateur wrestler, and he looks pretty tough, to be honest. Okay, he's an amateur wrestler. He's putting his body at risk and health at risk to gain status. He'll probably become a professional athlete. Okay.
Substance on their streams, and then Andrew Tate comes along and says, you should work out and you should be a man that people can respect, and you should.
A man people respect means status, by the way. Okay, you don't get respected for your virtue or how kind you are. You're respected for your status. Okay.
Should not give in.
Really? So how would you respect them, right?
You get respect, getting status. That's it.
So you become someone important, is what they're saying, right? Well, not everyone can be important. Most of us have to be nobodies. You guys are basic nobodies, okay? So why?
Yeah, not everyone can become someone, but everyone can suffer under the delusion that they can become someone. If they can still strive that status and hope to get status, they're not going to abandon the rat race, unfortunately.
Why, Eddie, are you supporting that? Right?
Yes, he is.
As a socialist, supposedly you don't have to be a somebody to get somewhere.
Well, he can't be a socialist because he enables feminists, and he probably is a male feminist himself.
But in your heart of hearts, all you socialists know that that's not the case, right?
Into your most base urges all the time and
giving into your most base urges. So that means that's another code word for not getting status. That's all it boils. So if you're giving into your base urges, it's deflecting attention away from status gaining, right? That's all. It's status anxiety for men.
But gaining status to get the girl is a base urge.
Exactly.
It's a base urge.
Have self-discipline. And
self-discipline means gain status. It's all code word for gaining status, right? They can't openly state. They can't openly say, "I want to gain status," right? I want to compete and tear other men down, and it's because I want to get the girl. They can't say it openly, so it's all euphemisms, right? They're coding their anxiety as something else.
It makes sense that in comparison to Sneeko and Aiden,
Self-discipline to get what though? Your motivations and goals mean everything. So what's the motivation?
Status to get the girl.
To become someone as a man and then get the woman. That's it. And maintain her if you can.
To become someone, and to become someone as a man, let's break this down. Become someone as a man and get the girl. So if you could get the girl by not becoming someone, let's say girls are suddenly attracted to losers and nerds and fat people at home in the basement playing video games. Suddenly, men will start doing that to attract the girl. So they want to become someone, but they want to get the girl, right? If they could get the girl, they wouldn't become someone.
Carlos, Sandy, Noah, that's not much of a goal. That's not much of a motivation, is it? Right. And how would that play into your socialism, right? Right.
It doesn't play into their socialism because they're not socialists.
You're bringing it up, so it's important to you, right?
Ross, that sounds like a good message. That sounds like a valuable message. So, as you know, and we
Status gaining is a valuable message. So the bland platitudes about self-improvement, being a good person, getting respected, that's a good message. It's like, this is laughable.
stayed away from.
So, working hard to gain wealth and fame to finally get the girl, that's important to you? Then, dude, why are you a socialist?
Because this is his niche, to get fame and get attention.
What? Eddie, why are you a socialist? Because socialists get nothing. They don't get the girl. They don't get fame. They don't get status.
Well, you're actually incorrect about that, because people are not socialists. Because so whether they get the girl or not is irrelevant, because so these people who claim to be socialists can get the girl, right, if they gain status, but they're not socialists per se. They're LARPing as socialists,
right? They get dumped by their women.
From culture war stuff for the.
You don't get dumped by your women for being a socialist. You get dumped by your women for losing status, or she finds a high status man, right? Or she's just bored of you and dumps you. Because the thing is, a high status man is not a treasure to a woman, because she can dump one and get another one she wants, right? This is why relationships are very insecure for men.
The most part, but as I was watching this, I'm like, I feel like it's important.
So Andrew Tate talking young men is culture wars. Okay, then I was right.
Oh, by the way, Andrew Tate talks about ripping off men. He brags about ripping off men with these romance scams, right? He rips off men with these romance scams, and no one condemns him for it. He's not arrested for it. Okay, I'm going to cover romance scams in an upcoming video. Him ripping off men, desperate, lonely men, is a-okay to these Marxists and these right-wingers, these conservatives, and even these feminists. These feminists will accuse Andrew Tate of sex trafficking and rape and misogyny and violence against women, but they're actually silent on his true crimes, ripping off men with romance scams. That shows you something right there.
Culture war is a war on men. Okay, we got that.
The culture war is a euphemistic term, so right-wingers don't have to talk about feminists, and they can attack the leftists instead as well, okay?
For us to comment on this, to offer kids something else other than Andrew
Feminism, okay, that's what he wants to offer kids, feminism and status grind.
Tate, a real movement against the matrix, so to speak.
You're not offering people a real movement against the matrix because you're feminist. So you're not going to break down gender dynamics. You're not going to criticize women. You're not going to expect them to change their behavior. You're not going to expect them to give up their female privilege. So what's going to happen? If you could get an equal society for men, where all men were equal, men will tear it down, because they'll start competing with status to get the woman, right? And deselected men will go into a rage and into an anger and form reactionary right-wing or reactionary left-wing movements. Okay, that's why Nazism was caused by deselected men, in my opinion. Okay, they were getting deselected, and they turned to reactionary extreme politics. The same with Marxists as well, by the way.
Really, what are you going to offer them? Right? You just bragged up that Tate's message was good. So what's your alternative? I don't hear one.
Communism, and offered by three people who would agree that you should have discipline, and you should be someone that people can rely on, and people that someone should respect.
So women don't need discipline, and you don't need to rely on women. right? Okay, you invite women to spew hatred and venom towards men into your Marxist groups. Okay, so it is just bland platitudes about good masculinity, basically.
Offer kids that message from an outlet other than Andrew Tate. But
Well, when you say
And so why are kids turning to Tate? Why are they turning to Tate? It's because they're giving why are young male kids turning to Tate? Because they're told self-loathing, toxic venom, or they're not told anything at all, right?
fact, you never give the criteria. Exactly. If you want to become a man who's respected, why should you be respected as a man?
Okay, Marxism is not about individual respect either. It's not about individual self-improvement lifestyle advice. Marxism should be about systematic, institutional, economic class analysis. It's on a scale that should be far above this, right? And it's a big red flag that they're talking about self-improvement and bland platitudes about positive masculinity, right? Be dependable, be respectable, right? When men are dependable, they get used and discarded. This is dependable men. Married women, married men, right? Workhorse slave providers. Like the capitalist class, the bourgeoisie class, they want dependable, respectable workers who know their place, right? So when Midwestern Marxists want dependable men who provide for women, they're tradcons. Feminists and tradcons are the same thing, more or less. There's minor disagreements, superficial disagreements, but at the core of it, they're the same.
I mean, more than the average guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I hear nothing.
By the way, I couldn't find the video Trevor was replying to. That's one of the reasons why I'm replying to Trevor's version of this.
From you three.
Obviously we won't fall into the normal culture war back and forth that you see in the media every day, but I do want
This is what I want to focus on. So he's poo-pooing culture wars, right?
to comment on it a little bit from our own perspective and from an anti-capitalist perspective.
And from a feminist perspective. Okay, so they're against the culture wars. I don't have to show any more. This is a very common Marxist trope. Oh, we're above culture wars, right? We're against the culture wars. We're above it. We're against identity politics, ID politics. Don't bring ID politics into this. Okay, it's a lie because they promote feminism, right? This identity politics. She's talking about femicide. She's talking about femicide, but they're against identity politics. Okay, they're against identity politics, but femicide, which is the most ridiculous form of identity politics. It's one of the most ridiculous bullshit feminist claims to ever exist. Okay, let's look at gender murder stats. Gender murders. Okay, and there's 78% of homicide victims are men, right? And I think there's like only one country where there's more women getting killed than men, right? And like in Latin American countries, the rate is like 90% men. Okay, this femicide narrative is bunk. Let's listen to that. See,
To perceive other people in this way, to want these things, these desires are pumped into us and they're not ours, and so things can get very confusing. So yeah, I think loads has been shared. I want to you guys can maybe ask for some of the specifics because they've been incredibly generous. All of the folks who have joined Circle have been incredibly generous to themselves with their own healing, which has given me a lot of perspective of the crisis that our young men are in and our boys are in. And I think it was so easy for a lot of people to write it off. And it's kind of what we're going through. If folks that are embodied this way, women, queer folks, trans folks, what we're going through is so intense and so severe, and the femicide and the level of violence we're dealing with is
okay, you see, complete identity politics, basically appropriation of queer issues. Then she diverts to femicide just to attack porn, non sequitur porn. And look, okay. Meet Miss Financially Independent. New study finds more than half of women control household finances, investments, and retirement planning. It's not independent, it's still dependent, it's parasite. So women work less hours, but they control household finances, right? Okay, you can find that. Domestic violence related deaths. Abstract. The 2003 Massachusetts Domestic Violence Homicide Report. notes that suicide can be attributed to domestic violence incidents. Notes the majority of domestic violence reported suicides are not covered in the report because that's erasing data. It's possible to extrapolate as many as 7,800 and 2,000 domestic violence-related studies occur annually in the USA. When domestic violence-related suicides are combined with domestic violence homicides, the total number of domestic violence-related deaths are higher for males than females. Okay, so that's more men die due to domestic violence than women, which makes sense. Actually, the vast majority of domestic violence is committed by women. Okay, so that's another Kuboshina femicide narrative. What's that? Okay. Pressure to abstain from porn use may mean mental distress. So I think a lot of mentally ill. I'm going to link this in psychology today. I don't want to read this. Okay. New study of reboot treatments. So basically, reboot is pseudoscience based on like brain nonsense about brain wiring, rebooting your brain like a computer, right? To get off the porn, which is complete fucking nonsense and dribble. I didn't need to read this to understand that. So it spreads fear, anxiety, and mental health. These disorders onto men. If you spread fear, if you teach men that looking at porn is wrong, and you can get conditions from looking at porn and it damages your brain, you're spreading fear and anxiety onto men. Therefore, you're spreading more mental illness onto men. Okay? There's people ranting about Kumas and incels in the comment section, right? Okay? So, anyone who uses the term Kuma is a hater and hates male sexuality. There's nothing wrong with coming, right? Nothing wrong with coming whatsoever. Kuma. It's born from innate hatred of male sexuality. That's all it is. Male pleasure, male freedom. Okay? These people want male workhorse slaves who don't masturbate and who work, right? That's what they want. That's the ideal. It's Protestant work ethic by Marxists, which is ironic, right? Capitalistic Protestant work ethic. Okay? Tradcon work ethic. Yeah? So, Midwestern Marxists, they're pretending that they're against identity politics, they're poo-pooing identity politics, right? They're above identity politics, but they invite feminist man-haters on. Okay. So, Midwest Marx, you're scum. Oh, why must I subscribe to you? I thought unsubscribed. I thought I already unsubbed from you. Okay. So, yeah. You're scum, you're feminist scum, you're man-haters, you're reactionaries, you're spreading lies about porn. Porn does not cause violence, okay? And there's no relationships between porn and violence any more than there is between violence and horror movies, okay? Porn does not cause violence, does not cause rape. Men do not rape women in any significant numbers. It's a real outlier event that barely ever happens, okay? Women actually murder babies far more than men commit violence against women, okay? Okay, so if you want to set up courses to deprogram women away from baby murder, right? Okay, I don't think I've got anything more to say about this. Over and out.